Hello everyone, this is Blanca. Welcome back to my channel. This is going to be video 3 of my holiday craft series for 2020. So in this video, I'm going to be creating a couple of cards using this embossing folder with the Christmas tree. And I'm calling this monochromatic Christmas cards because I'm going to try to use the same color palette for the cards. So for my first card, I'm going to be using this 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 piece of cardstock, white cardstock. I'm going to be embossing it using the Christmas tree, and I'm going to use this glittery paper as a background. I'm going to be cutting a border around the Christmas tree, and I'll use that glittery paper as a background. And I'm going to be doing some ink blending. I'm going to be using this distress ink in speckled egg, and I'm going to be using this blending brush. And I'm going to leave a link to most of the supplies I used in the description below. So the first thing that I'm going to do is emboss my piece of cardstock with the Christmas tree, and I'm just using my Crafter's Companion Gemini Junior machine to do this. And this is how it looks once it is embossed. It's kind of hard to see because the cardstock is white, but the Christmas tree embossed really nicely there. And then now I'm just putting a piece of freezer paper and just taping it down, and I'm gonna use this as my surface, and I'm going to be doing some ink blending again with the distress ink and my brush. And here I went ahead and sort of dipped the brush directly into my ink cube, and I noticed that when I blend this way, if it turns out a bit patchy. I mean, it's still nice, but it's still it turns out a bit patchy. I'm definitely not an expert at blending, but I'm just trying my best to make sure it's not as blotchy, and try to get a good blend, as you will see here. My goal here is to bring out the embossed part of the Christmas tree, and I think by ink blending the whole thing, it does bring it up. And again, the color is speckled egg, and I'll leave a link below. Here is my blended piece of cardstock with the Christmas tree, and now I'm just gonna go ahead and trim it all around so that I can leave a nice border. Again, it does look a little blotchy, but I think it still looks nice. As I get more into ink blending, I'm probably gonna get better. Again, I'm not an expert, but I want to share with you how ink blending works for me. So the way I did it, by dipping the brush directly into the ink cube, it gave me sort of this result, and it's a bit blotchy, but it still looks good. So now that my background is done, I'm going to be adding it to a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 white blank card. And I was going to add that glittery background to the tree, but I decided that the actual white from the actual white card will make a nicer border, so I just went ahead and decided not to use the glittery background, and I'm just going to adhere it to my blank card. And then I'm going to be adding some clear gems in trying to keep with this monochromatic theme that I'm trying to go for. I am adding these gems to the little circles that you see in the tree, and also to the trunk and the little star. And this is how the final card looks like. It is quite sparkly and it has that monochromatic look that I was going for. So this is the one with the speckled egg that I ink blended. And for my second card, I'm going to be using the color Shabby Shutters. And I did something different this time for my ink blending. Instead of dipping it directly into the cube, I put some of the ink into my little mat, which is the freezer paper that I put down. And I noticed that I got a much better blend when I picked up the color from the mat instead of directly from the cube. So this is something that I learned, something new I learned. And I am glad I tried to do this because I think the result is much better than the first one. The first one is still really nice, but I think this one, the blend is much better. So I'm hoping to get better as I go. And here's how my background looks right now. I'm going ahead and trim it as well because I'm going to add it to a 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch white card as well. And this blank card is going to be a Simon Says stamp white card, and I'll leave a link below to where you can get them. And here I'm going to be using this pattern paper to put as a background because I think this one, in this case, it does match and it looks nice, and it still keeps into that monochromatic theme that I was going for. So I'm just going to go ahead and adhere this background, and then I'm going to add my tree. And now I'm going to be adding some green sparkly gems to make it sparkle, and again keeping within the monochromatic theme that I'm going for. So here is the card with all my gems. It looks quite sparkly and nice. And I wanted to give you a close-up of my first card. This is the blue icy one. And then a close-up of my second card, which is the green one. As you see, I think I got a better blend on the green card with the tree and the gems. It looks much better to me, and I think that's because I put the ink on the mat and then picked up the ink from the mat, not from the cube. So in regards to ink blending, that was my experience, in case that's helpful to you. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it brought you a little bit of joy, and I'll see you next time.